I'm Callan Rhodes, 29. I was the son who never fit the frame, too soft for boardrooms, too sharp to be silenced. I walked away from legacy money and the kind of bloodline that considers empathy a defect. They told me I'd regret it. Maybe they were right. That night, Seattle was soaked in rain. The kind that eats sound and leaves everything pulsing in silence. I stepped into the house with soaked cuffs and a head full of static. Lena had left the kitchen lights on again. Her MacBook was still open. The screen blinked, iMessage. You're still my person, red heart, E. I stopped breathing. E, there was only one E in her life. I moved like a ghost, slow and unreal. Her phone lay charging on the nightstand. Face ID still worked. My thumb hesitated over the screen, then tapped. Messages spilled out like a confession from a dying priest. You still smell like me. I miss the way you sleep. He doesn't suspect a thing. The latest timestamp? Just 2 hours ago. My ears rang. I scrolled higher. The name, Elias Rhodes. My older brother. My rival in silence. The prodigal heir. And she had him saved as my person. I dropped the phone. The room felt colder. A quote once echoed in my father's voice, "You never see the knife that's already inside you." I stumbled back toward the kitchen. Needed air. Needed sense. My hand brushed against a half-open drawer. Inside, a manila envelope. I froze. It was addressed to Lena. Postmarked 2 weeks ago. From Bainbridge County Family Court. I tore it open. The world tilted. Inside were updated guardianship papers. Legal, signed, and notarized. With a revised custodian line. Elias Rhodes, primary guardian. Lena Rhodes, joint guardian. Callan Rhodes, no legal custodial rights. I couldn't scream. The silence screamed for me. I stared at the signatures. Mine was there. Except I never signed them. I backed away like the document could burn skin. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. A message appeared. Check the trust fund. You're already too late. I ran to my desk. Pulled up the family account portal. Logged in. Access denied. Another attempt. This account is no longer authorized under your credentials. 3 failed logins. Locked. Panic clawed at me. The front door creaked. I spun. Nothing. Just the sound of rain and my pulse thudding like war drums. I checked the hallway. Shadows held their breath. A draft moved through the space like something unseen had passed by. I turned back to the MacBook. Just as another message lit up the screen. Did you tell him yet? The papers are ready. My hand clenched into a fist. They planned this. It wasn't an affair. It was an erasure. That was the night I stopped being a husband, a brother, a father. They didn't just steal my wife. They erased me. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The silence of the house was a trap, every creak a warning. I kept checking the kids' bedrooms, though I knew they weren't there. My hands shook as I threw clothes into a bag. I didn't pack for a trip. I packed like I was fleeing a crime scene I hadn't committed yet. My mind wouldn't stop echoing, "He's their guardian now. Not you." By noon, I was sitting in the marble lobby of Hensley and Paralegal. My lawyer, Nolan, wore his usual neutral face, polished, clinical, already annoyed I'd shown up without an appointment. "You don't have power of attorney over them anymore," he said without looking up from the screen. I never signed those papers. Nolan tapped a few keys. "Your signature's on file. Notarized. Witnessed." I stopped. My voice cracked. That was the part they needed most. Doubt. "Digital signing is binding, Callan. If someone accessed your ID, Well, that's a bigger problem. Bigger problem. I leaned in. They erased me. My wife and my brother made me vanish legally. That doesn't qualify as a big enough problem for you? He finally looked at me. Blank stare, then a sigh. You need a PI. Not a lawyer. Cut. I slammed the door on my way out. Rain hit my face like spit. I walked 3 blocks before pulling out my phone. One number. One name I never thought I'd call again. June Pallister. She picked up on the second ring. So, you finally saw it. Her voice was dry, unbothered. Like she'd been waiting. Where are you? Watching your brother toast a boardroom win. AMC Tower, downtown. He's in a better suit than he used to deserve. I stopped walking. Traffic blared past. My hand went numb. I need help. I know. She hung up. Cut. AMC Tower smelled like power and pine-scented arrogance. I pushed through the elevator doors, past suits who didn't recognize me or pretended not to. Floor 47. Glass walls. Expensive lies. June was leaning on the railing. Black trench coat. Hair pulled tight. One hand in her pocket, the other holding a phone she didn't check. You look like hell, she said. Feel worse. She nodded toward a side hall. You're gonna want to see this. Down the corridor, she handed me a tablet. Footage played, silent, grainy. A security cam view from a notary's office. A man walked in. My face. My clothes. My ID. Only it wasn't me. The signature was smooth. Practiced. Deep fake? No. Real body. Mass tech. Hollywood grade. Elias had access to a production company through your father's charity wing. Used it before. For fun. My stomach flipped. You're saying he used an actor to forge my presence at a legal filing? I'm saying your family rehearsed your disappearance. You were the last to read the script. The footage ended. I stared at the black screen. This is enough for court, right? She shook her head. You want custody back? You'll need more than theater tricks. You need motive. Money trail. Cause. I have nothing. June leaned closer. No. You have one thing. You have me. Cut. She drove. I didn't ask where. Seattle blurred past the windows. Why are you helping me? I finally asked. She didn't look away from the road. Because Elias did to me what he's doing to you. Only I was stupid enough to believe it was love. That silenced me. Cut. We stopped at a storage unit. Gray metal door. Code locked. Inside was a flash drive sealed in a waterproof case. June plugged it into her tablet. Dozens of files appeared, audio recordings, legal drafts, and a flagged document, petition for international relocation of minors. Destination, New Zealand. Departure, 2 weeks ago. Approved. I swallowed hard. They're already gone. June didn't respond. The footage played, a customs checkpoint. Lena, holding both kids' hands. Smiling. Casual. Elias was behind her. No luggage. Just nodding. Then he turned to the camera, looked directly into the lens. I felt cold all over. You think this is over? I said. June's voice was almost a whisper. No. I think it just started. I stared at the screen. If I want my kids back, I'll have to become someone I promised I'd never be again. The warehouse smelled like rust and wet earth. It was barely dawn. Cold air clung to my skin like regret. June slid the rolling door shut behind us with a screech loud enough to wake the dead. Inside, shadows hung heavy between crates and exposed beams. Everything looked abandoned, on purpose. No security. No network. Just drives. Analog memory, she said, tapping a padlocked case. I said nothing. My hands were too tight. My chest was tighter. She opened the box. Pulled a black drive out. Plugged it into a tablet. Click. A grid of thumbnails blinked to life. Security footage. Dates. Names. Room numbers. She tapped one. The video began. Elias. Lena. Together. In my father's study. Laughing. Drinking. Like they owned the room. I leaned in. The audio buzzed. Static then clear. He won't fight back. That's the beauty of it. Lena's voice. Then Elias, he never had claws. Only heart. I didn't blink. Didn't breathe. The screen jumped to a second clip, grainy, darker. This time, me. I was in my therapist's office. Alone. Speaking. I've been feeling paranoid. Like something's coming. That recording wasn't public. It was private. Confidential. How did you get this? I asked. June didn't answer. You broke into my files? No. He did. She tapped a folder labeled Case, CR Mental Fitness Review. My name. My initials. Inside, assessments, transcripts, flagged notes. All submitted by Elias. Legally, that's impossible, I said. He's not my medical proxy. Not unless someone forged the transfer. She showed me the form. Signature looked like mine. But I'd never seen it. Never signed it. Their plan wasn't just about custody, June said. It was to dismantle your identity. I stepped back. The floor swam. You don't destroy a man by taking his kids, she continued. You destroy him by convincing the world he doesn't deserve them. The lights flickered. We both turned. No one. Just the wind. Metal creaking. Shadows shifting. June closed the tablet. I need air, I muttered. We stepped out into the alley. Pale sunrise. Empty street. But I felt it. Eyes. Somewhere. Watching. She lit a cigarette. People forget, the truth doesn't set you free. It costs you everything first. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I answered. Static. Then. I saw you. The storage unit on Western. Should have stayed gone. The line went dead. I turned to June. They're following us. She exhaled slow. Of course they are. You stepped off script. Cut. Back at her apartment, June pulled out another folder. Paper this time. Look at this, she said, tossing it onto the table. It was a change of beneficiary form. Filed 6 weeks ago. For the Rhodes Foundation Emergency Trust. It removed my name entirely. And the new beneficiaries? I asked. She tapped 2 names. Elias Rhodes. Lena Rhodes. My jaw locked. It's not just money. It's control. Of everything, I whispered. Cut. Night. Rain on the window. I sat in the corner of her apartment, the lights off, only the city's glow painting lines on the wall. The kids were gone. Across oceans. Rewritten into someone else's story. I thought of my father's voice again. The worst betrayals don't come with knives. They come with smiles. That's when June said it. There's something else. I looked at her. She held up a flash drive. Your father's will. What about it? It was amended before his death. You were supposed to inherit the controlling vote. Not Elias. Then why didn't I? She hesitated. Because the amendment was suppressed. Cut. I stood. Who hid it? She stared back. I did. Silence fell hard. I buried it to survive, she added. But I kept the copy. Because I knew this day would come. I stared at her. Every cell in my body screamed. You think I can win this? I asked. You can't win, she said. But you can burn them all down. If we're going to destroy him, we start with the one secret he thought he buried with your father. Rhode Island smelled like salt and old money. The estate gates rose out of the fog like a warning. Iron. Rusted at the joints. Still guarded. Motion sensors swept the driveway in slow arcs, red lines cutting the night. June killed the engine a block away. We don't trip anything, she said. Private security responds faster than police here. Then we don't get caught. I pulled my hood up. My hands were steady. That scared me more than fear. Someone once said calm is what happens when panic finishes its work. I understood that now. We moved through the trees. Wet leaves underfoot. The house loomed, 3 stories of stone and glass, every window dark. My father had believed privacy was power. Turns out it was just cover. June crouched by a service door. Punched the code. Nothing. She looked at me. Your turn. Inside my jacket, taped to the lining, was the key I hadn't used since I was 12. A small brass tag, worn smooth. My father had pressed it into my palm and said, every vault needs a flaw. I slid it into the old analog reader hidden behind the stonework. Turned. Click. Cut. The door opened into the archive wing. No alarms. No lights. Just the smell of paper and dust. We moved fast. Shelves of ledgers. Trust documents. Deeds. June headed straight to the far wall. A painting hung there, an oil of the coastline, waves frozen mid-crash. My father's favorite. I lifted it. Behind the frame, a recessed safe. My pulse jumped. June keyed in numbers I knew by heart. My birthday. My mother's. Then mine again. The door swung open. Inside, a single leather folder. She handed it to me. I opened it. Handwritten pages. My father's handwriting. Sharp. Angry. Alive. Addendum to last will and testament. My name sat at the center of the page. Primary controlling interest. Conditional. Binding. I swallowed. Why wasn't this filed? I asked. June didn't answer. I flipped to the last page. A note, scrawled in the margin, if they come for him, they'll say it's for the family. My chest tightened. This changes everything, I said. It changes motive, June replied. Not behavior. Cut. Headlights flashed across the lawn. We froze. A car rolled past the gate. Security patrol. Slow. We waited. Counting breaths. My ears rang. When the light faded, June pulled me toward the rear exit. Tonight isn't about winning, she said. It's about positioning. Cut. Boston. The gala. Crystal chandeliers. Violins. 100 polished smiles rehearsing concern. The Rhodes Foundation Winter Ball, legacy dressed as charity. I wore a tux I hadn't touched in years. Felt like borrowed skin. June disappeared into the crowd. I moved toward the bar. Elias stood near the podium, glass in hand. Laughing. Untouchable. I watched him for a beat too long. He felt it. Turned. Our eyes met. His smile didn't falter. Callan, he said, approaching. I heard you moved. Across the truth, I replied. He laughed softly. You always did exaggerate. I leaned in. Low voice. You forged my signature. His eyes flicked, just once, to the cameras. Then back to me. You're unwell, he said gently. People are worried. That word again. Worried. The favorite weapon of men who rewrite reality. I found Dad's addendum, I said. The smile froze. Just for a fraction. Then it returned. Sharper. You always were sentimental, Elias said. Paper doesn't change blood. Before I could respond, a woman stepped between us. Marjorie Keene. The family attorney. Her perfume hit first. Then her voice. Gentlemen, she said, touching my arm like a warning. This isn't the place. Her grip tightened. You go public with anything, she whispered, and custody proceedings become complicated. I pulled my arm free. Threats don't age well, I said. She smiled. Neither do men without leverage. Cut. The bathroom mirror was cracked. My reflection split down the middle. Two versions. Neither whole. June slipped in beside me. Funds just moved, she said. 7 figures. Offshore. New Zealand holding. My breath caught. They're not hiding, I said. They're relocating. She nodded. New citizenship filings. Emergency basis. The kids are assets now. Assets. A line I'd once read came back to me. When people stop seeing you as human, they start charging rent for your existence. I looked at June. What do we do? She met my eyes. No pity. Just fire. We follow the money, she said. Then we follow the children. The music swelled outside. Applause. Elias stepped onto the stage. I watched through the doorway as he raised his glass. History being rewritten. In public. With champagne. They're not just running away, they're rewriting history. Queenstown hit like a held breath. Mountains cut the sky. Water black and still. Too beautiful to be innocent. June and I moved through customs on borrowed names, clean enough to pass, dirty enough to disappear. I felt eyes on my back the entire time. Not paranoia. Pattern. A rental car. Fogged windows. We drove without talking. The address led us to the edge of a cliff, glass and steel anchored over nothing. A house designed to float. No neighbors. No roads behind it. Only the drop. Inside, the door unlocked with a soft click. Silence. Children's shoes by the wall. A stuffed fox on the couch. My son's blue hoodie folded like someone cared. Clear, June whispered, moving room to room. I stepped in. The air smelled like citrus cleaner and ocean salt. Too tidy. Like a stage between acts. My phone vibrated. Block number. A screen lit on the far wall. No warning. No sound. Elias appeared. Calm. Framed perfectly. He smiled like a man who'd already won. You made it, he said. I told Lena you would. My jaw tightened. Where are my kids? Safe, he said. For now. The lights dimmed. Metal shutters slid over the windows. The house sealed itself with a hiss. June raised her weapon. Elias chuckled. You won't need that. This is a conversation. I took a step forward. You forged my life. You stole my children. I curated your collapse, he corrected. There's a difference. A line echoed in my head, power isn't loud. It waits. Why? I asked. He leaned closer to the camera. Because you were always a liability. The screen split. Lena appeared. Not scared. Not broken. Focused. You should listen to him, she said softly. He understands the architecture. My chest hollowed. Lena, come home. She shook her head. There is no home. There's custody. Narrative. Control. I felt something crack. Not loudly. Cleanly. This was you, I said. All of it. She didn't deny it. I needed an exit, she continued. And Elias needed a conscience he could blame. We made each other useful. June whispered, she's the spine. Lena's eyes flicked. You brought her. That complicates things. The floor panel slid open. Armed men rose like punctuation marks. June fired first. Glass shattered. Alarm screamed. I grabbed the fox, shoved it into my jacket without thinking. Muscle memory. Fatherhood. We ran. Cut. The hallway narrowed. Red lights pulsed. A man lunged. I slammed him into the wall. Breath gone. Another grabbed my shoulder. June dropped him with a clean shot. We burst onto the balcony. Wind howled. The drop yawned. A helicopter thumped overhead. Searchlight cut the dark. Elias's voice boomed through speakers. End it, Callan. You don't belong in this chapter. June's tablet chimed. She smiled with grim, victorious. Uploading now. Lena's face filled the screen again. This time, angry. You won't make it out, she said. But your story will end exactly where I need it. A shot rang out. June jerked back. Blood bloomed through her coat. I caught her. Stay with me. She pressed the tablet into my hand. Press send. Everywhere. I won't leave you. She smiled, tired. You already did. Long ago. Another line surfaced. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act while it's screaming. I hit send. File streamed. Ledger. Recordings. The will. Surveillance. Custody manipulations. Everything. The helicopter dipped lower. Men shouted. June squeezed my wrist. Get them back. Her hand fell. I stood. Rage quiet. Focus sharp. I stepped to the edge and jumped. Cold hit like knives. The ocean swallowed me whole. Cut. I surfaced gasping, lungs on fire. The cliff loomed. The house a glowing wound above it. A rope dropped. Hands pulled me up onto a service boat idling in the shadow. A woman I didn't recognize cut the engine and threw a blanket over my shoulders. Journalist, she said. Your friend sent coordinates. Sirens wailed onshore. Helicopter veered away. I stared at the house as it shrank. At the glass walls. At the story collapsing inside it. My phone buzzed. A message from Lena. You lost, Callan. But don't worry, the world will remember you the way I wrote it. I closed my eyes. And started rewriting. The courtroom smelled like varnish and old secrets. Wellington. 6 weeks later. Wood-paneled walls, silver light cutting through tall windows. Journalists lined the benches, silent and tense. This wasn't just a hearing, it was a reckoning. Lena sat across from me. Polished. Perfect. But her eyes darted, too fast, too too calculated. Elias wasn't here. He'd flipped the moment international warrants got filed. Claimed coercion. Named names. Testified in sealed chambers. Cowardice dressed as strategy. June's footage played on the screen behind the judge. My voice. Lena's voice. Paper trails. Deepfakes. False guardianship forms. Medical fraud. The offshore transfers. All of it. And then the coup de grace, the reinstated will. I watched Lena break, not with tears, but with silence. She didn't defend herself. Didn't blink. Control was her only currency. And today, she couldn't spend it. Cut. I held my sons for the first time in 81 days. They didn't say much. Just wrapped their arms around me like they were afraid I might disappear again. Maybe I was. We flew home in quiet. Rain tapped the window of the hotel room we were hiding in. I didn't sleep. Just sat beside their beds, listening to the sound of their breath. You don't need to be perfect, I whispered. Just stay close. A week passed. Custody was granted, full, legal, uncontested. Public sentiment turned quickly. Sympathy. Outrage. Lena's name trended for days. Then it didn't. People forget. But I wouldn't. One morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo. Lena on a boat. Somewhere tropical. A single line scrawled in red ink. Not over yet. I didn't flinch. Because she was right. This wasn't about revenge. Or victory. It never had been. It was about clarity. Someone once said the only way to burn a lie is to set yourself on fire with it. But I didn't burn. I endured. Cut. Months later, I gave an interview. Just one. Not for sympathy. Not for spin. I said this. I wasn't destroyed. I was erased. There's a difference. One ends you. The other dares you to fight back. They asked what I'd say to the person who orchestrated it all. I looked into the lens. Thank you, I said. You taught me who I wasn't. That's how I remembered who I am. I took my kids to the ocean that spring. We watched the waves crash, the same way they had in every chapter of my life. One of them asked if monsters were real. Yes, I said. But sometimes they were familiar faces. He nodded, then went back to digging in the sand. And I realized then. The past doesn't define you. But it does follow you. So you walk forward anyway. Even if the wind howls behind you. Even if the world still watches. Because surviving isn't the end. It's the authorship. And the story didn't end. It just changed authors.